Before we begin, let me say this clearly. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a minister. I'm not an expert with all the answers. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, a man who's carried weight, lost things in his life, survives various storms throughout a lifetime, and been humbled into purpose. I can't tell you what to do medically, but I can tell you what I lived. I can't give you a sermon, but I can tell you that God is real and was the light in one of my darkest moments. I'm simply a man rebuilt, mind, body, and spirit, rising like the phoenix in my logo, from pain to prognosis to prayer to purpose. This is not theory. This is not opinion. This is not entertainment. This is my truth. So why fit and fire? Because fit is the battle for the body, the discipline, the rebuilding, the healing, the climb every man must make to take back his health. And fire is what refines the spirit. Fire reveals the truth. Fire exposes what was hidden. Fire burns away what is actually killing you. Pride, denial, numbness, fear, ego. So something stronger can rise in its place. That's why this podcast exists. Not for perfection, not for applause, but for the man listening right now who's fighting a silent war inside his own body or inside his own mind. If you've seen the logo, then you know. Mind, body, spirit, and beneath it, it says from pain to prognosis to prayer to purpose. Those aren't just words. That is the exact order God walked me through. The old me, the man who ignored the signs, the man who carried everything alone, the man who refused to slow down, the man who numbed his spirit. He had to burn away. He had to die so I could live. Because when a phoenix rises from the ashes, it does not rise polished. It rises awake. It rises forged. It rises on purpose. And that is what happened to me. Cancer. Cancer didn't just challenge my body. It reshaped my soul. This podcast is the sound of a phoenix rising. What you're about to hear is the journey, the climb that began the day my mountain appeared. This is episode 0, ground zero in my life. This is where my old life ended and my new life began. This is where fear became faith, pain became clarity, and the diagnosis became a calling. Now take a breath, because before I take you to the doctor's office, before I tell you the moment the word cancer entered my world, you need to hear the call that came before the mountain. There's a moment in every man's life when the noise fades and the truth finally reveals itself. For me, it didn't happen on the day I heard the word cancer. No. It happened long before that, in the whispers, in the warning signs I ignored, in the pride I carried, in the silence I lived in. It happened the day I realized the mountain was always there. I just never stopped long enough to see it. Because men don't stop. We grind, we push, we endure, we pretend everything is fine, even when our bodies whisper before they scream. But there is a call that comes before the mountain, a call every man hears, but few ever answer. A call to look in the mirror and finally face the truth. A call to stop running, a call to surrender, a call to rise. And for me, that call came in the VA waiting room. I sat there surrounded by men from every generation. Cancer doesn't care about age or color or anything like that. I saw young soldiers, old warriors, husbands, fathers, all staring at the same invisible enemy. Fear in their silence, shame in their posture, pain in their eyes. No one talked. No one looked up. You could barely hear people breathing. It was a room full of giants stripped of their humanity and their manhood. And in that moment, I understood something that changed the way I see myself and the way I see every man listening to this. This mountain wasn't mine alone. God wasn't calling me to climb for myself. He was calling me to climb for the men in that room and the men that's listening to this podcast, for the men who would come after us, for every man shaking silently in a chair, for every man afraid of his own results, for every man who thinks masculinity means suffering alone. This podcast is not entertainment. This is testimony. This is truth. This is fire. The fire that forged me, the fire that refined me, the fire God placed in my hands. So another man might survive his own mountain. Before the mountain appeared, God called me. He shook me. He stripped me down. He rebuilt me. And he told me, get up. This is not about you anymore. It never was. Our life is not just about us, and that's the thing that's lost sometimes. But he told me, get up. This is not just about you anymore. You're not climbing alone. So this is the beginning. This is the call. This is the warning. This is the awakening. This is when men find courage again. Welcome to Fit and Fire. Welcome to my journey. Welcome to our purpose. Welcome to the call before the mountain. 61 days after surgery, something inside me shifted. It's amazing the word cancer, what it does. It heightens all your senses. It makes you appreciate and see things that you didn't see before. 61 days. The thing that's ironic, at 61 years of age was when I was diagnosed. And 61 days post-surgery, our air handler went out. Ironic. Because in that moment, standing there with the unit rattling and grinding, screaming for help, and with my heightened thoughts and things, I realized something. My body had been doing the same thing for years. A loose screw, a silent failure, a warning system ignored. And just like that air handler, I realized my body has been whispering long before it ever screamed. Day 61 wasn't just another day on the calendar. It was a shift. Ironically, on day 61, the day that I had my surgery, I had my surgery on 9/11, September 11th. I had my surgery. This was 61 days from 9/11. The irony of that, I was stationed in Washington, D.C. area during that time. There's a lot of parallels with this. But on day 61 from that date was a shift, a breaking open, a spiritual awakening, because when you survive something that could have killed you, when you wake up with stitches across your body, a new battle in front of you, everything changes. Everything. Your awareness rises. Your appreciation skyrockets. A simple glass of water tastes like a miracle. The air in your lungs feels like a gift. Every breath you take, every sunrise feels like God saying, I'm not done with you yet. It's not just physical. It's not just emotional. It's not just spiritual. It's a new lens, a way of seeing life that only appears when that mountain has appeared in yours. For 61 years, my body had been grinding, pushing, holding weight, the weight of leadership, the weight of fatherhood, and the mistakes I made, the weight of survival, the weight of never letting myself break, the weight of my sin. But when the air handler failed, I asked myself a question I had never asked before. What if I tightened my screws sooner? What if I had listened? What if I had slowed down? What have I thought about the decisions and the things I was doing? What if the maintenance of my life, my body, my spirit, my faith had what if I wouldn't have delayed? Those questions, those unanswered questions that I asked myself, those questions changed me because they were unanswered, because I did not do the things that I should have done earlier in my life. There's a difference between wishing and being blessed. And trust me, when you go through cancer, you do a little of both. But this is when I awakened, I understood something. There is a difference between wishing and blessing. There is a difference between wishing and being blessed. Wishing is fragile. Wishing is temporary. Wishing depends on luck, and luck teaches you nothing. But blessing, blessing strips you. Blessing humbles you. Blessing clarifies your life. Blessing is divine favor and life-producing power. Blessing is God sharing his presence. Blessing is forgiveness, a gift so you can help others. Blessing forces you to face the truth. God is in control. You never were. We're not in control of nothing. Men walk around thinking they're untouchable. Clean cars, fresh cuts, fast rides, loud music, big egos. But when that mountain appears, every ounce of pride melts. It melts into the dirt beneath you from which it came. Dirt beneath your feet. Men blame everything. The world, love, childhood, jobs, circumstances. The only thing we can ever control is how we react to them. And remember where our source of power comes from, our source of love. But God isn't interested in those excuses, the world, love, childhood, jobs, anything that excuse your bad behavior or things that's blocking your purpose. God is interested in one thing. He's interested in surrender. Every morning he gives us an opportunity, a chance to get it right, to be grateful, to wake up before you open up that cell phone, before you get into your job, before that cup of coffee, just to say thank you. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for this day. Thank you for birthing this body. Thank you for the opportunity to pray. Just the opportunity to say thank you, Lord. Thank you. Even in discomfort, even in discipline, even in the storm that wakes you up, because fire doesn't just burn, fire forges. The old me had to burn away so the new me could rise. Every man faces mountains. Some go around them, some avoid them, some pretend the mountain isn't there. Some wait until the avalanche hits. But the bravest man, let me talk about brave. Brave isn't something that you have is void of fear. No, it's the ability to walk with faith and walk through your fear. The bravest men, they climb that mountain. Not because it's easy, but because the climb reveals truth. At the top, your vision changes. When you're at the top of that mountain, you see things with much more clarity. You can see in the valley the enemy's strategy, the purpose in your pain, the echoes. Oh my goodness, the echoes of your past. All the things that you thought you were doing and getting away with, all those things. When you face in your mountain, the echoes of your past, the things God had to subtract so you can see from top of the mountain to the valley below. The things he wanted to add, this is called divine math at a higher elevation. Divine math. God subtracts what blocks your purpose. God adds what strengthens your spirit. God multiplies your faith. God divides you from anything holding you hostage. Pain becomes the fertilizer. Purpose becomes the harvest. Pain becomes the fertilizer, and purpose becomes harvest. The world runs on money every day, but let me tell you about the spiritual economy. The world runs on money, but the spirit runs on exchange. And God's economy You could trade control for peace, weakness for strength, fear for love, failure for direction, pain for healing, sin for life, addiction for restoration. God's love is the only currency that never depreciates. It makes billionaires out of broken men. Meanwhile, Earth's economy, things we chase, they fade away, they become obsolete. Cars fade, phones become obsolete. Clothes and fashion change, clothes rot. Attention disappears as you get older. People fight over the scraps after you're long gone, but the soul's eternal. It's eternal. Distractions in our life, we call it distractions we call life. Mine was fantasy football. I used to just get into it and watch the stats, the games, just to distract me and then go right back into the grind. Not because fantasy football, there's nothing wrong with it. You enjoy it, those kind of things. It's just when you hear the word cancer, it makes you realize what your purpose are. What's your purpose? Why are you walking? Why are you living? Is it to play fantasy football or is it to do what God called you to do? Is it the video games that distract you? Is it bottled alcohol that you're drinking? Is it that pill that you have to pop? Anything that distracts you from your purpose, this world is full of what I call when I read before, it's called hypnotic rhythm, noise, designed to distract men from their purpose. Not because we really want to, it's just what everybody else is doing. A distraction from our pain, a distraction from the things in life, that brief moment, but then becomes an addiction. And you don't realize how far deep in the valley that you went. God is always attracting distractions so you can gain awareness. God was pulling me out of the valley so he could show me the mountain. We all have mountains. We all have distractions. We're all under that hypnotic rhythm. On day 61, I realized I was physically weaker, but spiritually stronger. I'm financially stressed, but purposely blessed. I'm hormonally challenged, all those hot flashes from this treatment, but I'm divinely guided. This is where God whispers, where you're weak, I'm strong. This is where your plans die and his plans begin. This is the lens through which I now live, breathe, and speak. Everything changed on day 61. The silence before the storm. This is where it all began. Not at surgery, not at rehab, not even the first prayer, but the day a man who thought he was strong learned he was breakable. I was 61, a soldier, a father, a man who carried a lot of things inside, a man who I held things back and held it inside because I didn't want everybody to know what was going on inside of me. A man who never stopped moving, a man who thought he was just getting a routine physical. Just another appointment, just another box to check on a long list of things men ignore because life demands us too much. I went to that doctor's office because I wanted to lose weight, because I wanted to get back in shape, because I thought I was just needed discipline. I had no idea when I did this blood work that a mountain was waiting for me. Life has a way of confronting you when you're unarmored, when you're distracted with that hypnotic rhythm, when you believe you're fine. You just focus on the day. Cup of coffee in the hand, music playing, just another day. But on that day, I learned something every man eventually learns. A word that we rarely use. I'm not saying all men, but a lot of men. And that's mortality. The mountain we all must face and climb. You don't notice the mountain until it's standing right in front of you. You can't run from it. You can't move it. You can't negotiate with it. You can't outwork it. Mountains come in many shapes and many forms. For some men, it's addiction. For others, it's heartbreak. For others, it's finances, trauma, grief, divorce, war. And for some men, For too many men, the mountain is prostate cancer. I had crossed hills, valleys before deployment, losses, heartbreak, pressure, responsibilities. But this mountain, this one, was taller than anything I had ever faced. And I faced some big ones because that one word, cancer, and in my case, prostate cancer, it can change your entire perspective in a single breath. Dreams fade, distractions fall away, and suddenly all you can see is this massive mountain blocking the path of your life, and you thought you knew. You thought that you were in control. I stared at that mountain. I replayed my whole life, every whisper my body gave me. You do an after-action review of yourself, of your life. And as I reflected, I remember it started small, a little swelling from riding my bike, pressure, some discomfort, a twinge here and there, nothing serious, or so I thought. Because men ignore pain. Men push through. Men don't slow down. Men don't want to bother anyone. My body tried to warn me. Urination changes. Nights got longer. Bathroom trips more frequent. Why was the bathroom trip so frequent? Because my bladder wasn't emptying. You look for a quick remedy because we live in a time where we're looking for quick fixes, and so we can just move on with our day, pop a pill and drink a Red Bull or something and move on. Cup of coffee, tea. And then you see a commercial for supplement that promises relief for prostate issues. You think, that's it. No, I'm peeing a lot because I'm older. You tell yourself this all the time. Oh, I'm just getting older. You just make excuses. You justify it. But these were not excuses. These were alarms. And like so many veterans listening, I was conditioned to fight through discomfort. For all the people in the Army, I can't really speak on the other branches. In the Army, if you go to sick call, everybody looks at you like you're weak. You're not setting the example, Sarge. You're not driving on. But this time, this was more than just going to sick call, getting a Motrin or Tylenol, and just keep driving on. No, not this time. This battlefield wasn't outside. This battlefield was inside my body. The day I was in that doctor's room, the doctor walked in casually with a clipboard, neutral tone. But I saw it. I felt it. I seen it in his face. But I thank that doctor because he made me realize something. He was the catalyst of the change in my life. He didn't have no alarm. He just looked up. I saw the concern. I saw it in his face. I read it before he even said it. Everything around us went still. He said words that no man is prepared to hear, but I felt it coming. My PSA levels were high. And when in some of the other episodes, I'm going to talk about this. When he told me that, he paused and he said, we see signs of prostate cancer. Just like that, the world got quiet. The room got smaller. My breath and breathing was heavier. Life is not measured in years. His life is measured in moments like this, moments that divide your story into two chapters, before the mountain and after the mountain. Right then, I saw mine, tall, cold, and unavoidable. People think cancer is all about the body, but before it ever touches your flesh, it attacks your identity. It attacks you on all fronts, mind, body, spirit. What does it mean when a strong man hurts? What does it mean when the warrior bleeds? What does it mean when the protector needs protecting? I wrestled with fear. I didn't speak out loud. I carried shame. It didn't belong to me. I questioned my manhood, my future, my purpose, my worth. I didn't cry, not at first. Because men are taught to hold it together, to be the rock, to never fold. But cancer doesn't just test your health. Cancer exposes your humanity. Your mind becomes a battlefield. Your thought becomes the enemy, and you start fighting alone. I didn't fall to my knees when I heard the diagnosis. No, I fell much later and much harder. I prayed in one of the deepest levels of my life when the noise of the world had faded and I was alone in my thoughts. I had dark thoughts. That's when fear spoke the loudest. But when I prayed, but underneath that fear was something else, a whisper, a presence. Not dramatic, not loud, not lightning or thunder, just truth. And I had goosebumps over me. It's like something touched me. I can't explain it, but you have to be open to it. I heard, be still. You're not climbing this mountain alone. God didn't remove the mountain. He revealed himself on the mountain because he never promised we wouldn't face battles. He promised he would be in them with us. This is when my pain became a doorway to my purpose. Those goosebumps that was on me made me realize things and started understanding stories that I read in the Bible before, long before. There's a story in Daniel 3, the fiery furnace. Most people celebrate the miracle, but they overlook the promise. Jesus never promised we escape the fire. He never said the flames would disappear. What he did promise was you will not walk through it alone. He stands in the fire with you, steadying you, guiding you, holding you upright. When your strength is gone, and during my own battle, Matthew 6:34 echoed in my spirit. Do not worry about tomorrow, because worry is future focus. It drags you into a place God hasn't asked you to live yet. Worry pulls you out of the present and drops you into the wilderness where all you can see is a massive mountain in the distance while you feel small in a valley beneath it. But with cancer, prostate cancer, you can't drown in the what ifs, which I did for a moment. You can't fight tomorrow's battles today. You can't let fear write the script. You stay grounded in what's right in front of you, the mountain, the next step, the next appointment, the next prayer, the next breath, not the future, not the fire, just climb. Because your strength isn't found in avoiding the fire. Your strength is found in the one who steps into it with you. The diagnosis wasn't the end. It was an awakening. Prostate cancer didn't come to kill me. It came to call me, to slow me down, finally chasing all the things I was chasing, to break what was hardened, to rebuild what was wounded, to turn my pain into purpose. This podcast is not entertainment. This is warfare. This is healing. This is truth. This is lifeline for every man suffering in silence and too afraid to speak. God took what could have destroyed me and turned it into a weapon to fight the silence of men. Let me ask you this. Why men don't talk? As men, we don't talk not because we're tough, but because we're terrified of not being tough. We drown in silence. We hide behind pride. We mask fear with arrogance. We avoid the doctor because we don't want to hear the truth. We pretend we're fine because the world taught us we have to be. We don't talk about pain. We don't talk about insecurity. We definitely don't talk about prostate cancer. We'll talk about sports, argue about politics, money, cars, work, whatever. But not our bodies, not our fear, not the things that could take your life. Let me give a shout out to women. Women talk openly about breast cancer, and thank God they do. Their courage and conversation have saved millions of lives. They built a movement of awareness, sports, and hope, support and hope. through sports avenues, through breast cancer month. But men, we stay quiet. We stay stubborn. We stay in denial, and it's costing us our lives. Prostate cancer is just as common for men as breast cancer is for women. It's very similar type of cancer, which I'll get into in other episodes. But this awareness isn't even close. And that's the biggest question of all. Why? The pressure inside a man, because that silence has drilled us to hold that in. It drilled into us from childhood to adulthood, from the locker room to the battlefield. As men, we have a dangerous habit. We hold everything inside. We stack stress on fear, fear on shame, shame on pain, until the pressure becomes unbearable. And because we don't talk, because we don't open up, because we are trained to handle it alone, men do two things. We implode or we explode. Implosion looks like depression, addiction, isolation. It's the heartbreaking reality that men make up the majority of suicides. Explosion doesn't always look physical, but when it does, it's something terrible. Sometimes it's emotional, verbal, spiritual, relational. It looks like anger. We don't understand the patterns we can't break. Pain we pass on to the people we love. And the battles we fight, but never admit. Not because we're bad men, not because we're weak men, but because we were never taught how to release the pressure before it destroys us or hurt others. That silence, that internal buildup is killing men slowly, long before cancer or anything else, heart disease or life storms ever touch us. That's why this conversation matters. That's why this podcast matters. Because if men don't start talking, if we don't start opening up, if we don't fight the stigma of silence, we will lose more brothers to the battle inside of them than the battles in front of them. But silence doesn't make you strong. Silence makes you vulnerable for that hypnotic rhythm, that voice. There's three voices in us, and you have to be able to tune in and understand. There's God's voice, it's your own logic, and there's the opposition. Silence makes you vulnerable in the worst way. Silence is the enemy's strategy, and today, right here, right now, that silence ends. Let me say this plainly. My mountain I'm facing is prostate cancer. My climb is survival, recovery, identity, faith, and purpose. My mission is to guide men through the same fight. This isn't just about my body. This is about my spirit, my mind, my masculinity, my calling, my pain, prognosis, prayer, and purpose. This is my path, but this is our climb. If you're standing at your own mountain, fear in your throat, results in your hand, shame in your chest, brother, you're not alone. We climb together. This is episode 0, the day the mountain appeared, the day everything changed my life, the day God whispered, get up, I will climb with you so you can help others. I'm going to end with this. Thank you for walking with me through this first chapter of my journey. If this episode spoke to you, if it stirred something in your spirit, if it made you look at your own mountain differently, then know this. You were meant to hear it. Not by accident, not by coincidence, but by purpose. Because every man listening is climbing something. Fear, illness, pain, grief, addiction, loneliness, shame. And no man should climb alone. This podcast, this mission, this calling is about brotherhood. The kind that doesn't judge you, doesn't compete with you, it doesn't leave you behind. So if episode 0 meant something to you, subscribe, share it with other men who need it, and join me for the next step in this climb. In the next episode, we'll go deeper into the signs, symptoms, the denial, the lessons that prostate cancer taught me long before surgery ever took place. But for now, take a breath, stand tall, look at your mountain, and remember, Where you're weak, God is strong. Where you feel alone, you are seen. Where you feel broken, you're being rebuilt. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for having the courage to take the climb with me. I'm Al Carter. This is Fit and Fire, the Prostate Cancer Combat Podcast.